Hello and welcome to Class Time, your daily classroom for CSEC students. Watch this lesson in real time on Television Jamaica's YouTube channel or One Spot Media. In today's English lesson, we will look at the progress report. I'm Nicola Bailey Blackstock. Alright, now let's begin our lesson. Now we have been doing a series of things for the past few weeks, right? We have looked at quite a number of reports, right? So we're going back to our report this week. Now, as it says, we're going to be looking at writing the progress report. Now, as per usual, right, we want to know what is our progress report and what is the importance of you, CSEC students, learning to write the progress report. And I cannot reiterate this enough or emphasize this enough that for your paper 2, section B, right, we or you do not know what it is that you are going to be asked to write. So because of that, we're preparing you for anything, right? So whatever comes on section 2 or paper 2, or sorry, section B, let me clarify, section B of the paper 2 exam, you will be able to write anything, right? Because you have been prepared. Now, we're going to be looking at writing the progress report. And as usual, you want to know what the progress report is, but we'll get to that. But first, we need to look at the lesson objectives. All right, so the lesson objectives for this lesson is number 1, state what is our progress report. 2, explain the importance of our progress report. 3, list the types of progress reports. And 4, express understanding of the concept by writing a progress report of your own. All right, now, I don't just go into my lesson like that, right? I always give you something to do. All right, now, on screen, you're asked to do an activity, right? And the activity is for you to unscramble the words that are there. So you have 3 words here, and I'm going to be giving you 3 seconds, right? Just to unscramble the words, right? So you're going to write them down, and let us see how many of them you can get correct. So let us give you the 3 seconds to do that. So what you can do is screenshot, take a screenshot, and then you can unscramble the words. All right, ready? Let us see how many of them you were able to decipher. Answers, right? First one, report. Second one, progress. Third, organize, right? How many of them did you get correct? Did you get all 3? Did you get 2? Did you get 1? Not a problem, right? Because we're learning, and this is just an activity just to get your minds going, your brains going a bit. All right? All right, so we're moving on to the actual lesson now. So, what is a progress report? So before I give you the actual definition, when you hear the word progress, what comes to mind? Write it down quickly. Progress. So we're looking at a progress report. Now, the word progress should give you a hint as to what a progress report is. So let us see how many of you can determine or give us a definition of a progress report. All right, let us see if you're correct. All right, so what is a progress report? A progress report provides relevant details at different stages of a project, such as building, renovating or repairing a house, planning an event, conducting research, right? Were you able to get any of this so far? All right. It covers a particular period and records work completed, work in progress, work yet to be done, and the forecast. It also summarizes important findings and recommendations. A progress report is submitted at different scheduled dates. All right, So a progress report, the word progress there, remember I asked you to look at the word progress and try to see if you could determine what a progress report is. All right, now when you hear the word progress, what comes to mind is how far you reach, right? Very good, right? So a progress report is what different people use, right, to determine where they are going, right? And work yet to be done, right? And work that they have completed, right? So a progress report can be used by anyone. So it is not any one person is allowed to create or to write a progress report. You yourselves can write a progress report. For example, say for example, your CSEC exams are coming up, right? And you know that you have to study. So you create a progress report, right? Outlining all the things that you have to complete, all the studies that you have to complete, right? So say, for example, you create a table and you put down all of your subjects, right? And you jot down what you have studied so far, what you intend to study, and all of that, right? So anyone can create a progress report, all right? So we understand so far what a progress report is, all right? Very good. All right, so let us look at now the importance of a progress report. Now you might be asking yourself, what is the importance of a progress report? Why would you need to write one, right? And it doesn't matter. At some time in your life, you may write a progress report, and it doesn't have to be anything formal. It can be just something to jot in, but it is still called a progress report because you are doing it so that you can track your progress, as the word suggests, your progress, how far you have reached, what you have done so far, and what you are about to do, all right? Now, a progress report is important because it gets everyone on the same page. Each person who receives a copy of the report will know what has been accomplished. This prevents confusion about what has been or has yet to be done. All right, now think about something that you think that you need to keep abreast of. Now, one perfect example would be your SBA, right? And remember that the SBA is done in groups, right? Now, if you have your groups, right, which would consist of 4 or 5 members, right, you would need to create a progress report because you would want all the group members to know what it is that they have done so far, what it is that needs to be done, right, and what it is that is to be done. Do you understand? So, in your area, a progress report would be good, right? Because though you are going to submit an individual component of the SBA, you are going to be graded for your participation within the group. So you don't want it to be a situation where when you're being graded for your quality of group participation, then the teacher will realize that some things are lacking, right? So you would want everyone in the group to be on the same page. So you would create a progress report for your group, right? So a progress report is important and it can be used in any facet of your life. All right, continuing with the importance, it facilitates collaboration. This is especially important when different teams work together, as I was saying or suggesting about the group, your SBA groups, right? So you see how things come in full circle, right? Knowing what the other team is up to helps prevent working in silos and also reduces task redundancy. It also helps one team identify areas where it can offer help or team up with others. All right. Now, here it mentions something about redundancy. And redundancy, you have looked at that. A lesson was done about that. Redundancy, meaning repetition. Right? Now, you would create a progress report for your SBA groups, right? Because when it comes on to your written report, right? Remember, it's all of you must write a written report, right? So, because all of you must have some input in the group, right? And when you're writing your written report, it would be good for you to create a progress report so that you can know which group member did what. So say, for example, as it relates to your written report, you want to know that, okay, then Melissa wrote paragraph 1, Stacy wrote paragraph 2, John wrote paragraph 4, and Dwayne and Alicia are to write paragraphs 4 and 5 or whatever, right? So you need to know what the group members have done in order to not create any redundancy. So you don't want it to be a situation where Stacy wrote paragraph 1 and then John is going to write paragraph 1 all over again. No, right? It defeats the whole purpose and it takes up time, right? So you create your progress report for the group so that you can know what each group member has done, right? So you see how important the progress report is? Very good. All right. It improves transparency and accountability by providing a paper trail. Now, we have been talking about paper trail for quite some time, right? The fact that you have it there so that you can know that it is done, the proof, right? So they said that the proof is in the pudding, right? So if you have the actual proof, you can go back and say, okay, then yes, here it is, it was done. So a progress report will help you to have accountability, right? And creates transparency. Now, what do we mean by this? When you submit your report, you've placed on record that you've accomplished a task or explained why your results were different than expected. Once the document has been accepted, it becomes part of the project's official documentation. And that is important. Documentation is very important. Proof is very important. So you're in your groups and you want to know that all the persons are doing what it is that they should be doing. So say, for example, you are the group leader and you have assigned different tasks. Then when it is time for the group members to present what it is that they have done, Melissa is going to come to you and say, that is not what I was supposed to do. And you are going to say to her, no, ma'am, you were supposed to write paragraph 3. Here it is. The progress report says it all. Then she would have nothing to say because the proof is in the pudding. You have it on record. Documentation is very important. So she cannot tell you anything because it is there, right? So it creates accountability because each group member knows what it is that he or she is supposed to do. And it provides a paper trail. So if anything happens, anybody falls out of line, you can present your progress report and say, here it is, and these are the tasks that each person was assigned. All right? So another importance of the progress reports. So just in case someone accuses you, and I keep preempting all of this, right? Because I keep telling you, and then the information is here. So, just in case someone accuses you in the future of failing to accomplish a task or not reporting a problem, you can point to the progress report as proof that you did so, as I mentioned earlier. On the flip side, if your project ever gets nominated for an award, you can be sure validators will come seeking documents that explain how the entire thing was accomplished. Proof, right? So all of this is very important. So we're getting deeper and deeper in understanding why it is that a progress report is important. And I need to reiterate the fact that anyone can create a progress report. It is not set in stone that only professionals should create progress reports. Anyone can create a progress report. Another importance, it improves project evaluation and review. Next time you plan for a project, your team can examine documents, including progress reports of previous projects to find out what was done right, what went wrong, and what can be improved. All right, so you have your progress report, right? Now, you want things to go smoothly, and they won't go smoothly all the time, right? So you have your project, and things did not go as how you had planned them initially. Then you have been called upon to do another project or the same project somewhere else. What you can do is revert to your progress report for the first project to see all the things that you did right, all the things that you did wrong, right? And what were the things or the areas that could have been improved, right? So that you will not make the same mistakes in the upcoming project. So we see how important a progress report is? Right. So it is you keeping abreast of everything, keeping a track of everything, all right? Previous reports can shed light on systemic issues, loopholes, and other causes of delay or failure, both internal and external, that must be avoided or resolved. All right, so another thing too that we need to look at is it allows you to be organized. So say, for example, you have a supervisor, and your supervisor, or you're supposed to be building a house, you're an architect, or you're supposed to be designing a house, so you're the architect, and your supervisor comes to you and say, how far are you? Have you drawn up the scales as yet, or whatever it is? And you're going to be saying, a progress report would have allowed you to be organized and to seem efficient in front of your supervisor. So if you had created your progress report, you could have whipped it out and said to your supervisor, here is everything that I'm supposed to do, and here is everything that I have done so far, right? So you don't want to seem disorganized, right? So a progress report helps you to be organized as well, right? So when you're organized, this is what your supervisors or managers want to see. All right, another importance, it provides insights for future planning. When the supervisor knows what tasks have been accomplished, he or she can focus on monitoring progress towards the next stages of the project. When a report shows that delays have occurred, the supervisor is able to investigate the problems that hindered progress and take steps to prevent them from happening again in the future. Now, again, the progress report here is just allowing you to be organized, showing you everything, right? What went wrong, what went right, and areas that can be improved. The supervisor will also be able to adjust the project timeline if absolutely needed, or instruct teams to double down. Now, what do we mean by this? All right, so say, for example, there's a projected completion date, so 8 months, and the supervisor realizes that the project will not be able to be completed within that 8-month period. Then adjustments will be made. Right? So a project report would be drawn up to allow the prospective customer to know that, okay, then the project will not be completed within the 8-month period because these are the things that have not been done so far, right? And explaining why it is that these things have not been done, right? So accountability. Right? So when you are able to show something on paper, right, why it is that the projected completion date will not be met, then you have the reasons there to show the prospective customer, or the customer, why it is that the deadline will not be met. All right? So all of these things are important. So say, for example, too, that the projected end date is within 8 months. and you realize that you're going to be finished before the 8 months period, then the supervisor can say, okay, then take your time, right? Don't move so quickly, right? Yes, you're on the right track. Things are going, but then we need to just slow down just a little bit, all right? We're going to take a break. More on the progress report after this break. Welcome back to class time. We're looking at the progress report. So before the break, we were looking at the importance of the progress report. So now we understand the importance of the progress report. So we know what a progress report is and the importance of the progress report. Now, we understand all of this. Now we need to learn how to actually write the progress report. So we're going to be learning the things that we should include in the progress report. And what we need to bear in mind as well is that the progress report can be a formal document and it can be an informal document, because anyone can write a progress report, right? Huge organizations, individuals, specifically students, teachers, anybody, right, can write a progress report. All right. Now, how to write a progress report? Now, the first thing is to think of it as a Q&A. And Q&A means questions and answers, because that's what it is in essence. Imagine your manager, colleagues, or clients asking you questions and you giving them answers. For example, let's say that you're organizing a weekend fair with food stalls and music, and you're in charge of food concessions. The project plan might require you to have secured letters of intent from at least 10 businesses by the end of the first month. Your progress report would then outline the companies or entrepreneurs who have sent letters of intentions, including a description of their business and plans for their food stalls. If talks are in progress with each with other businesses that haven't yet sent letters of intentions, you can mention that. You can mention that too and explain when they're expected to send in their letters. On the other hand, if you haven't met your target, you've had to explain why, but also narrate the efforts you have exerted and the expected timeline for achieving the desired results. All right, so before we get to using simple and straightforward language, all right, so think of the progress report as a Q&A, right? Questions and answers. So here it is that they had mentioned that you are planning a fair. Question and answers. What is a question that you would ask if you are the organizer of a fair? All right, so a few questions could be, what type of fair is it going to be? Who are the persons? Who are the persons that I'm targeting? Am I targeting children, adults, whoever, right? What are the vendors, right? Type of vendors that I want, right? So you have asked the question and then you are going to answer, right? So these are things that you would include on the progress report, right? So think of it as questions and answers. So when will the fair be? You write that down on the progress report, right? Who is the target audience? Children between the ages of, adults between the ages of, right? And then you would write your answer. So these are things that you would put in your progress report, right? Now, you asking the questions and answering them, right? It is not just that, right? But you are required to use simple and straightforward language. This doesn't mean you can't use technical jargon. For example, if you're in the construction business, you don't have to avoid using terms like tender or variation or risk management. Why? Because if you're working in the construction industry, persons that you're working with already know these jargons, right? So there would be no need for you to explain what these terms mean, right? So you would use jargons fitting to the profession. But otherwise, speak plainly. Use clear and concise language. One misconception in business writing is that complexity impresses. In truth, it only causes confusion. Please bear that in mind. Fact is, being able to speak plainly about your subject indicates that you understand your subject matter inside and out. Now, let me address this. Now, there are some persons who are of the belief that you have to use these highfalutin words in order for certain persons to understand what it is that you're talking about. No. And as teachers, we usually tell our students, stick to the simple language, right? The simpler, the better. Sometimes you want to impress and you use these words, and sometimes the person to whom you're writing just wanted you to explain it as best as possible, right? Without using these big words, right? Because remember, not everybody has the same vocabulary, right? Not because a person is business savvy, it means that their vocabulary is very, very wide. Yet it may be wide, but it may not be extensive, right? So the simpler, the better, right? Stick to the simple language and remember to be concise. Because remember, it's a lot of things that the person has to read, so the shorter, the better. Let's get specific. One thing that makes business documents dreary is the transformation of verbs into nouns, just like I did there, right? If we had to rephrase that to keep the verb, we'd write transforming verbs into nouns. It sounds simpler and gets to the point. Do we see that? But look at the two examples. One thing that makes business documents dreary is the transformation of verbs into nouns. I'm out of breath, right? The simpler, the better, right? And the simpler version, transforming verbs into nouns. it's expressing the same thing, the same idea, right? So remember, we want to be as simple as possible. And not because the persons, as I said before, are business savvy, it means that, again, you have to use all these highfalutin words. No, the person just wants to read the document and hurry up and go through and ensure that they understand. That is it. All right, so here are some examples. Now, for some persons, instead of using the word utilize, you would write the word use, right? Or use, right? Simpler, right? And remember, as I said before, not everybody's vocabulary is the same, right? So we want to ensure that at the end of the day, whoever is reading the document fully understand what it is that you are, that you have presented on the progress report, right? And instead of using the word consequently, you would use as a result. Instead of using made a decision, you would write decided. Instead of get in touch with, you would write the specific action, right? Call, email, visit. Instead of document, write the specific type, report, slides, manual. All right? So use simple language, right? The simpler, the better. Avoid using the passive voice where possible. Sometimes you can't avoid using the passive voice in formal documents that prohibit the first person point of view. But when done well, it really helps to make your report more relatable. All right, so you want, as it mentions here, your report to be more relatable, right? The person who is reading it can relate to it. They understand it and it is clear to them, right? So you want to use the language that is able for them to do that, right? For them to understand it. So you use the language that will facilitate the person reading it to understand it fully, right? So as we keep on mentioning, the simpler, the better. Going back to the food concession example, a passive sentence would read, research on potential food concessionaires was carried out. To make that sentence active, give it an actor, which is the team in this case, as in, the team researched on potential food concessionaires. Do we see the difference? Right? When we move from the passive voice to the active voice, right? Do we see it? So when we use the active voice, it is more relatable because we know who it is that is performing the action. All right? So when we say research on potential food concessionaires was carried out, it isn't relatable because we don't know who it is that is going to do the research, right? But when we change it to the active voice now, we see who it is that is performing the action. The team researched on potential food concessionaires. Do we see the difference, right? So when we use the active voice, it is more relatable. All right, so continuing with how to construct your progress reports, be specific. When you use concrete words, you tend to engage both the left and right parts of the brain, while the right region tends to remain unstimulated by abstract words. While the jury is still out on exactly how word meanings are represented in the mind, we can agree that the phrase, a merry sound, doesn't stir the imagination as much as tinkling bells. Now, we have been looking at how it is that we write. And one of the things that we always suggest as teachers, especially teachers of English, and to help our students to write better, is for them to use words or adjectives that trigger the use of the imagination. Right? Now, remember, we had mentioned earlier that we want the progress reports to be relatable, right? So allowing the person to reading it to use their imagination makes it relatable, right? Because when they're able to read it and actually imagine what it is that you are talking about, it is relatable, right? Because they're seeing it, they're picturing it in their imagination. So you have created a different avenue for them to understand it. So when you use the adjectives, right, that allows them to use their imagination, it is relatable because they're seeing it in their mind, right? So if you have created a document that is relatable, you have done an excellent job, right? So a merry sound, that doesn't do anything for me, right? I'm not able to imagine anything just when I see the term a merry sound. Any term can, any sound can be merry, right? But when you're specific by using tinkling bells, it does something, right? It stirs your imagination, all right? So what they're saying here is, to further allow your document to be relatable, use words that help to stir up the imagination. A hot day doesn't activate visual imagery as much as a melting popsicle. We see that? Yes, the day is hot. But if you use the term a melting popsicle, right, it does something, right? It stirs up the imagination. So the reader is able to relate to it, right? And that is what we want. When a reader's mind is stimulated by words, it's less likely to drift off. I remember, we have been looking at documents so far that might be cumbersome, right? That persons don't like to read. And to be honest, I don't like to read all of these whole information. It does something to me, especially if it is boring, right? But if it is relatable, if I can use my imagination, no doubt I am going to want to continue to read it. And even though it is a business document and persons are forced to read business documents, make it relatable, make it fun, right? Don't let it be so monotonous for them. Make them want to read these documents. Explain jargon if needed. This depends on who will be reading your report and if you're using very specialized jargon that only members of your team would be familiar with. For example, in a report written by a construction team addressed to the project manager, construction jargon could be used as the recipient obviously understands it. Right? So going back to that, use jargons that the person who you're working for would understand. And if you are uncertain if they would or if they will understand it, explain it for them, right? Don't leave them hanging there, right? So if it is a term that you and your colleagues use frequently and they understand, when you're presenting the report or creating the report and it comes up to you that maybe this person might not understand these jargons, explain it for them. All right, make it easier for them to understand the document that they are reading, right? Because at the end of the day, the aim is for them to understand the document. All right, spell out acronyms when they first occur in the document. Now, let me explain what an acronym is, and many persons don't or mix up confuse an acronym for an abbreviation. Now, an abbreviation is the shortening or the, using letters, the beginning letters to, like, say, for example, NEPA, right? NEPA is an abbreviation, right? So it is a shortened version of the organization name. An acronym, right, spells an actual word. Can we think of an acronym? Right? One example is WHO, World Health Organization, right? So World Health Organization, W, right, for world, health, H for health, sorry, and O for organization. So that is an acronym because it spells an actual dictionary word. That is an acronym, right? An abbreviation, as I mentioned before, would be TQS, right? The Queen's School. TQS does not spell an actual dictionary word. So it is not an acronym. It is an abbreviation. But World Health Organization, WHO is an acronym because WHO is the word who, right? And who is an actual dictionary word. So let us not confuse an abbreviation with an acronym, right? So we understand what an acronym is. So spell out acronyms when they first occur in the document. Don't assume that every single person reading the report will understand all the acronyms you use without you spelling them out. For instance, in construction work, the SWMS should first be spelled out as Safe Work Method Statement. Now, let me clarify this. This is not an acronym, right? This is an abbreviation, right? Now, I should have corrected it, but I'm correcting it now. This is not an acronym. This is an abbreviation, all right? So this does not spell an actual dictionary word. So it should be spell out abbreviations when they first occur in the document, all right? So because we understand the difference between an abbreviation and an acronym, we would know that this is not an acronym. So to be clear, write out the acronyms and the abbreviations, right? Because your prospective or your client may not know what the abbreviations and the acronyms are. So remember, we want to have transparency. We want everybody to be able to understand. So whatever it is that you think that persons might not understand, you explain for them. Stick to facts. Avoid providing an opinion unless it's part of the project. Now, we have been looking at this for quite some time, and I have been reiterating this. If your opinion is not needed, don't include it, right? If it is necessary for you to include your opinion, or if your client asks for your opinion, then you include it. But if they did not, do not include your opinion. For instance, your task might be to analyze data and offer your interpretation and prediction. In that case, you can offer your speculation and point of view as long as you have evidence to back you up. All right, so we're going for a final break. When we come back, we'll wrap up. Welcome back. So we're moving on. Now, how to construct or how to structure a progress report. First, it depends on the type of report as well as the intended reader. A progress report may be written daily, weekly, or monthly. It may be written for an individual or a team. As you'll see in the examples below, the main parts of a progress report are: 1. The introduction. Now, before we get to the introduction, I want to allow you to understand that a progress report can be done daily, weekly, or monthly, right? So it is up to you as to how you want to write your progress reports. All right, so to structure your progress reports, first, introduction. This part provides an overview of the contents of the progress report. It's best to write this after you've completed all the other parts of the report. That way, you'll be able to provide an accurate summary. Keep it short and simple. 1 or 2 paragraphs will do. And this depends on how you want to write your progress report. And the progress report is different from all the other reports and letters that we have done. There's no set structure or format, right? You write your progress report how you are comfortable if you are the individual, and if it is an organization, they will tell you how it is that they want their progress reports to be written. 2, accomplishments. Numbers and details are your friends, especially when writing this section of the progress report. The accomplishment you write should correspond to your goals. All right, and this is an example. List of tasks completed / milestones hit this month, right? Obtained permit from the city government to hold the event. Finalized event venue. Contract signed. Held initial meetings with 20 potential food concessionaires. Sent cold email to 25 potential sponsors, right? So these are the tasks that you have completed. Goals. What were your goals for the period covered by the report? This could be a goal for the day, week, month, or quarter. On the other hand, it could be a team goal too. Be concrete when writing goals. For instance, finalize food concessionaires contracts for at least 10 vendors. Close sponsorship deals worth at least, and you will put the figure. Begin social media marketing campaign for the event. So you're specific, right? So you would include specific things in your goals. 4, roadblocks. Explain what situations, if any, prevented you from achieving your goals or may prevent you from reaching this month's target. Now, this is important. This is very important for you to include, right? All the hiccups that you have encountered, right? So it's important that you include these, right? So you will refer to them as roadblocks or things that you have not accomplished or hindrances, right? But don't stop there. Be proactive and present an action plan and timeline for resolving the roadblocks. Include details such as funds, materials, and human resources you may need to implement the solution. So what they're saying here is, yes, you have identified the roadblocks, right? But don't just leave it there. Don't just highlight the roadblocks. Let them know what are the things that you're going to do to move on from these roadblocks, right? And how are you going to prevent them from recurring, right? And here is an example of the roadblocks, how you would include it in your progress report. Many potential sponsors might not be available for meetings due to an upcoming major industry convention. Solution. Important. Attend the networking sessions during the convention to get introductions and possibly agree on meetings. So here it is. This person identified the roadblocks, but they also included the solution, right? So include the roadblocks, identify the roadblocks, but include a solution. All right. Types of progress reports. Daily progress reports. A daily progress report includes your goals for the day as well as your accomplishments the previous day. It also explains challenges encountered in performing tasks and achieving goals. Another section under the daily progress report is lessons learned. These need to be directly related to the day's tasks and challenges as well as to the previous day's accomplishments. Weekly progress report. A weekly progress report provides a week-by-week breakdown of what has been accomplished and what tasks remain to be completed. Just like a daily progress report, a weekly progress report may include challenges and lessons learned. Challenges. So what to include when you're talking about the challenges? Many potential vendors who were attending a week-long industry convention couldn't book meetings. Potential vendors didn't read the entire email. So this is how you could construct the challenges that you encountered. Monthly progress report. A monthly progress report is necessary for projects with longer duration. The report may provide both monthly and quarterly data on project progress. And here we have a sample of a progress report, right? Now, as I said to you, there's no hard and fast as to how to create your progress report, but some persons have a template, right, for how to construct their progress report, right? But if there's none, you construct it the best way that the person would be able to understand, right? So here, the headings: work to be done, work completed, work still to be done, completion forecast date, agreed completion date. Now, what I'm going to ask you to do is to take a screenshot of this, right, so that you can have an example as to what it is that you have to do, because you are going to be required to create your own progress report, right? So, take a screenshot so that you can have it for future reference. All right, so we're going to be working at home now. All right, so bearing all of the things that we have learned so far about the progress report, right? What it is that you need to include, the importance of the progress report, what types of progress reports you can create, right? You are going to be required to construct your own progress report. Now, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be so the activity here is asking you to, is stating that your home is being renovated. Briefly describe A, the work completed, B, the work yet to be completed, C, the problems encountered, D, the future projects to be completed, and the project completion date. All right, so bearing in mind, as I mentioned before, all the things that we have learned so far about the progress report, you are going to be required to create your own progress report. So I hope that you were able to take a screenshot of the sample progress report so that you would know how to construct your progress report for this activity. All right, so what you're going to be doing is we're going to be sharing what it is that we have learned, right, and how it is that you were able to construct your progress report. All right, so that's it for today. Class time resumes at 9 a.m. with CSEC English. Until then, keep safe.
Hi there, I'm Simon Preston from TVJ. Thank you very much for watching our YouTube channel. To see our latest videos and also to see live events, click here. To see our full videos on onespotmedia.com, click here. Thank you very much for watching.